Oh, hi everyone. My name is Wright, and I want to welcome you to the California Real Estate Show. Today is Saturday, April 22nd. Thank you for viewing. Today we're going to discuss real estate market events and statistics in the United States, California, Southern California, and even my hometown, Orange County. I'll provide you with current interest rates, current events, and remodeling statistics. So let's get started, okay? This segment I want to begin with by analyzing the price decrease of homes in the United States. We can see that 22.7% of all homes on the market have had at least one price reduction. And this is a relatively small number compared to last year. We're seeing a correlation today between interest rates and price drops as the mortgage rates, make their way downward. We're seeing there's less price reductions from those drops in the mortgage rates. The next slide here, we can see that Southern California active listing inventory is showing that we can see the inventory is currently at 18,046, down 42% since last October, down 21% since January. So we can see there's an uptick in the market. This next slide I'd like to share with you the current Southern California inventory. As we look closely, that we can see it's about half of our historical average. Here we are today in the blue. And the blue scallop line on this next slide shows the deficient inventory of homes. We're just, we're at a all-time low right now. It's dangerous to be at such a low inventory level. It just shows you how low it really is. And they forecast into the new year, and you notice how it compares to the graph lines of the previous years above. Such a small, low inventory level today. On this next slide here, the graph shows the demand or pendings in Southern California. Demand is currently at 11,900 sales, which is about 35% less than this time last year. And it's about 54% less today than the historic averages prior to COVID. I find this next slide rather interesting as it compares how interest rates affect mortgage payment affordability with two price points. As we look closely, we can see the $1 million price point and the $750,000 price. This chart assumes that a buyer's bringing in 20% as a down payment. And since interest rates today are hovering around 6% and 6.5%, that brings an average mortgage payment of $5,057 per month on a $1 million home, and a $3,792 per month payment on a $750,000 price. Notice how a 4.5% interest rate mortgage, which we had, months ago, it would bring a mortgage payment down to $1,004 per month on a $1 million purchase, down by $1,004, I should say, not $2,004. But it lowers the payments by over $1,000 a month on a $1 million home, and about $750 less on a $750,000 purchase price. So this is obviously one of the reasons why buyers are hesitant to enter the marketplace today. However, we are now seeing that many buyers are entering the market and gambling that they'll be able to refinance to a lower interest rate in the future once inflation is tamed. Now, as we look closely at this slide, we can clearly see the jump in the interest rates over the last 12 years. And experts contend that most of the country experiences affordability issues once the interest rates hit that 5.5% threshold. That's that horizontal line you can see there. The next slide that we're going to review here shows today's rates. on a 30-year fixed rate loan up to $726,200. The rates are quoted at 5.99% at 1 point. And remember, 1 point is equivalent to 1% of the loan amount. So if it's a $1 million loan, well, in this case, it'd be a $726,000 loan. That would be $7,260 at 1 point in lending fees, okay? All right, let's take a look at this next slide. The home buyers with good credit scores will soon encounter a costly surprise. Biden has decided to hike payments for good credit home buyers to subsidize these high-risk mortgages. And this new federal rule goes into effect on May 1st, and it's going to force borrowers with good credit to pay higher mortgage rates and fees to subsidize people with riskier credit ratings who are also in the market to buy homes. As part of that federal housing finance agencies, their push for what they call affordable housing, they're going to affect mortgages originating at private banks across the United States. And a lot of mortgage industry specialists stated that, home buyers with FICO scores above 680 or higher, they'll pay, for example, about $40 a month more on a home loan on a loan amount of $400,000. So home buyers who make down payments of 15 to 20% will be hit with the largest fees. And these new fees will apply to the Americans buying houses or refinancing after May 1st of this year. So that's right around the corner. Both real estate agents and lenders believe that the changes will frustrate home buyers with high credit scores and homeowners seeking to refinance, because the rule essentially just punishes them for relatively strong financial positions. I mean, tell me, what do you think? I mean, is the Fed doing the right thing? How do you think that this is going to affect our real estate market going forward? Please feel free to post your comments in the section below. So I want to take a look at this next slide here. And it's going to show us the statistics for Southern California. We see the market times in both San Diego and Orange County. If you look at those closely, they average only 32 days and 37 days respectively. So it's obvious to me that the low inventory and the increase in demand has substantially lowered the expected market times in these two cities. I mean, to give you a perspective of how quick the days on market in Orange County has shifted, the market time in January this year was at 101 days. I mean, we know we had a smoking hot market early last year, and the expected market time was only 27 days. But the 3-year average prior to COVID was at 62 days. I wanted to share with you on this next slide that we review the forecasted demand in the top 10 U.S. markets. The real estate economists predict that Provo, Utah, Austin, Texas, and Lakeland, Florida will top the charts for the most pending sales. And as we go into this next slide, the bottom 10 markets for forecasted demand, we see that the lowest forecasted demand are the Charleston, West Virginia, and the Flint, Michigan market. Notice how demand, if you really look at those statistics, the numbers there, demand is only slightly affected during this 5-year forecast. As we view the inventory of single-family residences in the United States, there's 410,851 homes for sale. And this number is unchanged from 2 weeks ago. By the way, that number is about 1/2 of our historical inventory average. So it just shows you not only our local county, Southern California, but also the entire United States has an inventory issue. Next, we see that the median U.S. home list price is $439,900. Can you see how the new listings on the market, which is the lighter area below, are listed for $405,000, or that's about 8% less than those listings that have been on the market for a longer period. And that, I think, would display why you need a real estate professional and experienced agent to guide you in pricing a home correctly the first time. This next slide shows how the median list price of homes under contract is currently at $375,000 throughout the United States. That's 1.3% less than this time last year. And as we review the homes under market, under contract, we see that there are 21% fewer pendings today than this time last year. As we look at price reductions here, we view U.S. home prices. We see that 29.9% of the inventory has had at least one price reduction. Let's look at the rental market for a second here. The average rent prices in the U.S. is currently $2,265 a month, and that's 5% higher than last year. We've seen annual rent increases in Southern California of about that 5% for about 5 or 6 years now. This next slide shows us the effects that the recessions have had on home prices and how long it took for the prices to return to their previous peak values during the last 3 recessions. Notice that the recession in the late 70s, it took about 6.5 years to recover back to the previous peak. The recession of the 90s took about 11 years to return to the previous peak. And of course, the large 2008 bubble recession that we had, it took 14.5 years to return to its previous peak. This next slide, as we review the Orange County statistics, we can see that the median sales price today is $975,000. That's down about 4.9% from this time last year. Today's Orange County active listing inventory is only at 2,053 homes. This inventory has dropped 19% since January, and everyone's feeling the effects of a drastically low inventory. Multiple offers have once again become the norm. I had a fixer listing that I put on the market last Saturday, and in one day we had 9 offers on it. This graph here displays how pendings or demand in Orange County compares today to prior years. And as we look, this 3-year average prior to COVID was 67% higher than it is today. However, demand, I must note, it's increased by 7% in the last 2 weeks. So it's currently about 1,663 pendings in the last 30 days alone. And finally, our last slide has to do with the home remodeling. After more than 10 years of continuous growth, the annual spending on improvements and repairs to owner-occupied homes is expected to decline by early next year, according to the latest leading indicator of remodeling activity. They call that LIRA, latest leading indicator of remodeling activity, LIRA, L-I-R-A. And the LIRA projects that year-over-year expenditures for homeowner improvements and maintenance will post a modest decline of 2.8% through the first quarter of 2024. And they basically cited that the higher interest rates and sharp downturns in home building and existing home sales are driving their projections for sluggish remodeling activity next year. So this concludes the show for this week, and I want to thank you for watching. If you or your friends or family members are looking to sell, to buy, or to invest in real estate, please feel free to reach out to me for a confidential interview. I can be reached at 1-800-440-WADE. That's 1-800-440-9233. And the data and graphs that I shared with you today, they were derived from the following sources: InfoSparks, thefinancials.com, Altos Research, Reports on Housing, the California Association of Realtors, housingwire.com, and Harvard University's Joint Center of Housing Studies. So I want to thank you for tuning in. God bless you and your loved ones, and bye for now.